Hello everyone, here we are with James Atkins, writer and director of Bragging Rights. Lovely to have you, man, here. So let's jump onto it. Would you like to give us a very quick introduction of yourself for those that may not know you yet?
Well, I'm a filmmaker. I've been making films for, well, unofficially since I was about 10 years old with my brother, but as a proper activity since 2008 when I went to film school. And then I've been writing and directing stuff. Places I've got into about 130 film festivals around the world now. Won a few awards, which is nice. But the main thing I do when I'm working is something called a script supervisor, who's the continuity person on set, who everyone hates because we're the one who says, no, you've got to do it again, because that person took a drag of their cigarette on the word the instead of the word and, that kind of person. So that's me, savior of sets and also writer-director.
Excellent. Yeah, you've done a massive amount of stuff. We'll get back to more of that later, but for example, your latest stuff now is The Witchhunters Are Coming. Before that, you just did How I Ate Your Mother just a few years ago, and you even done stuff like Greensploitation, where we can see even the likes of Lloyd Kaufman, which sounds fairly exciting, actually.
Yeah, that was a small segment. One of the films I'd previously done called Zombies, which is EEZE at the end, because it's a fake deodorant commercial. So there's a zombie walking along, can't get any brains to eat, so he uses the zombie's deodorant, and suddenly the women love him and they go and meet him, and of course he's going to eat their brains. But it's only 35 seconds long, and it's part of that feature film.
Excellent. So jumping onto Bragging Rights, basically, Bragging Rights, it's a superhero film, it is a comedy film, and it's maybe not what everybody's used to. It's a little bit different in terms of superhero stories, and genuinely a British superhero story. You know what I mean? So what would you like? How would you explain how this happened, and how long did it take to make?
Well, it's inspired by a Monty Python's Flying Circus sketch called The Four Yorkshiremen, and in that they go through how bad their upbringing was, and it gets ever more ridiculous. So I thought, with the superheroes films being out at the moment, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and now half of society and the universe is getting wiped out with a click of a finger. So it's getting more and more extreme. I thought it would be amusing to do a take on The Four Yorkshiremen by having three superheroes who are basically just regular run-of-the-mill housemates, but it turns out they're practically omnipotent. Like they've got a complete infinity gauntlet, for those of you who know about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they can do anything, and they're super powered. And it's these three superheroes who they've all had a bad day, and they're all just trying to chill at the end of the day. And then they start bragging about how tough their day was and what they were doing. And it goes from quite normal, like stopping a bank robbery, to something much more extreme. And I won't give any spoilers away, but it gets ridiculous what they do in the day. And at the same time, there's a little bit of competition between the two male superheroes, because they're both after the news reporter. Quite cliched, I know that there's news reporters like Lois Lane and so on that are involved, but yeah, there's a love interest in the background as well, which they're also competing over.
Yeah, I have to admit that I didn't see coming actually the parallel with Monty Python, and now it seems so obvious when you start to think about it. How was the process for you to write this one?
It was actually quite easy to write, because it was just let your imagination go nuts, as far as what could these superheroes be doing. And as I say, it went from the kind of normal of like stopping some evil cultists or things like that, through to stopping complete alien invasions and dying and coming back to life and all this kind of stuff. So it was just really, how silly can I go? So it was very fun to write in that regard, because I just let my imagination go wild, because I knew I wasn't going to film any of it because they were just talking and trying to outdo each other with what they did, but not actually showing any of it. But that's not to say there isn't some superpowers in the film. You do get to see some stuff. But yeah, it was a nice thing to write, because I could just let my imagination go wild and not think about my.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It had a great balance of what you said, of basically of showing a little bit of it, but also focusing mainly on doing world building, or basically trying to make the audience picture things in their head. But on the more visual or practical side of things, I was actually impressed by a few things. Not only obviously the visual effects that were added were actually quite fitting. They weren't too tacky. I think I was legitimately surprised by that. And also on the makeups, the costumes, and whatever, there was some really good job there, especially on the makeup on Nicholas Salmon, who played Captain Awesome. I was very surprised, because you could really, I was wondering if that was makeup or not, actually. All of those bruises on the knuckles, on the body, all of those basically hints of some fighting going on. That felt a really cool element at it. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I can rest the audience assured we didn't go outside and beat him up. It was a makeup artist called Kirsty Graham, and she's fantastic. She's a fantastic. She gave me like this really good images before we actually went on set, so that we could discuss what kind of makeup each of our superheroes was gonna be in. So yeah, highly recommend Kirsty.
Excellent. So, because watching the shot, I really got the impression that you had a lot of fun writing this. I was wondering, have you thought at this point, or have you ever thought of coming back to these characters, or you're the kind of guy that normally you give it all your best, and then want to move on to the next thing?
When I wrote it, I didn't think about going back to the characters. However, it was a really fun shoot. I really liked the film. It's done okay on the festival circuit, so I think that there is an audience for it. I think that the audiences enjoy it and they find it funny. And so I have had some other ideas as to what I could do with some of the characters, and expanding that universe into perhaps going to the bad guys and their henchmen and things like that. Because if you were just a normal human being and you were a criminal, doing a bank robbery or whatever it is, and then you knew one of these godlike, for want of a better term, superheroes was coming to stop you, what would you do? So I've got an idea for that. However, the intention is to put the film online, see whether there is an audience for it before I write any more episodes. But yeah, I've got 2 or 3 ideas for further films. Some focusing on the heroes, some focusing on other characters within that universe.
Would you say you are big on superheroes?
I do like a superhero film. I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people don't like it, but to me, it's escapism, and they're not trying to make high art. It's just, you're gonna go there, you're gonna see big explosions, you're gonna see people getting kicked in the face, and as long as you go in there and you know that's what you're gonna get, and don't expect Citizen Kane, then yeah, why not? I enjoy it. I like escapism. When I go to the cinema, I'm not a huge fan of going to the cinema and watching something that's really depressing. Watching something like Ken Loach or something like that, and it's like, oh my God, all this is another day in everyone's life. And you go to the cinema to escape. Get that full Dolby stereo, the widescreen, crash bang wallop in your face, and the other stuff can be watched at home because it has its merit. I'm not besmirching it, but for me, cinema should be escapism, and whilst it doesn't have to necessarily have a happy end, so long as you are entertained by it, and you get some kind of rush from it, whether it's comedy, horror, thriller, whatever it may be. I think that's what these big multiplexes are for. Yeah, I can turn my brain off and ignore bad storytelling up to a point, I might add, and I can enjoy a superhero film like the best of them.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I myself, I have to say, I'm big on superheroes and comics in general. I've been a lifetime comics reader myself, and it was very funny to me because reading Bragging Rights, watching Bragging Rights, for example, was making me go back and remember some classic stuff. For example, I was remembering these all the comics, of course. I'm not talking about the movies. It made me remember, go back to DC's regular comic book series, Justice League International from 1987, which was surprisingly kind of this kind of thing. It was like getting all of these Justice League characters, Green Lantern, Batman, Martian Manhunter, etc., and having all of them in very oddball, screwball situations, having to pay rent, coming up with crazy get rich quickly schemes. And it was amazing. That was written by Keith Giffen and G.A. DeMatteis, and they killed it. And it was really big reference. And I was even wondering if by any chance you had seen anything like that or something like that, because it really felt something like really cool, and it made me really remind them.
When I was a kid, like 10, 11 or 12, I used to read the UK Spider-Man comic, but never, and Transformers as well. I was a big Generation 1 Transformers fan.
Exactly.
And still dig Transformers. Hate the films, I might add, but Transformers as a concept, I think it's really cool.
I'm with you 100%. Simon Furman killed it on the Transformers UK comics, and the 1986 animated film is probably one of the best, if not the best thing related to the franchise. Sadly, I was looking forward to that when the live action films were coming, and no dice.
Yeah, the first one's okay, because it's kind of novel to actually finally see Transformers with humans and like the spectacle. But then they've just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And the reboot of Bumblebee was okay-ish. But, nah, not really. But you're absolutely right. The Transformers movie from the 1980s is fantastic. It's got an amazing score. If you're having a bad day and you're working at home and you're allowed to listen to music, listen to The Touch, and boom, you're in a good mood.
Exactly.
So it's got a fantastic score. It's a brilliant story. It's Shakespearean in its tragedy. And beyond that, it's spoilers, and it's got Unicron in it. And it's got fun fact for you: Transformers the movie was the last ever performance of Orson Welles. So ties back in with my Citizen Kane mention earlier on. Exactly. Yeah, he's the voice of Unicron, the planet.
Yeah, in fact, I have there was this very funny story about how that happened. Apparently, he went to the set, to the booth to record the voice for Unicron. He was there's a lot of different stories about how did he behave, how did he come across, and apparently at the end of the day, he was quite nice. It was this very strange and surreal situation where he actually insisted on coming they sent an actual limousine to get him, and he said, go with the limousine, go by yourself, just bring my wheelchair, and I'll go with my friend on my own car. And they went in this small Fiat just behind the limousine, and the wheelchair wasn't because he had a walking impediment, it was because it was more comfortable for him. He was actually bringing the wheelchair with him, and then he sat in the booth. He opened the wheelchair, sat down in the wheelchair, and he just started prancing around the room. And then 1 hour after that, he was done. And then he started making jokes about how the only reason he didn't make any more movies is because he didn't have any money, doing constantly this gesture. Oh my God. Great guy. So, and yeah, pump up even for a workout, just pump up that Vince DiCola score for Transformers the film, and you have your day set, man. Now on this kind of topic, I want to ask one thing. As an experiment, what do you think would you do, or which ideas would you have if you were to do the same kind of story that Bragging Rights had, but using widely known superhero characters like Batman, Spider-Man, Justice League, Avengers, etc.?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would probably have to do it with lesser known superheroes, and I probably wouldn't have it go insane like what they do in our film, where they're saving the universe in our film and going to micro size. But I'd probably have the really underpowered ones who probably are competing for limelight, like people like the Arrow, who's not really got any powers at all. He can just shoot a bow. Pretty rubbish. And have that kind of character with maybe like a black cat or something like that, who basically don't do much. They're not very powerful. And then if they were going to start bragging, they could like get really competitive because they are after the limelight, and they possibly would resent another person, another hero, maybe the Supermens of this world. They would really resent them, to be honest with you, because that guy can do whatever he likes, and if he doesn't like it, just go around the world really fast and do it again. Whereas these guys are just stuck with some bows and arrows and claws.
So another question now that I'm wondering, if you had to recommend one film, a film that everybody should see in your opinion, which film would that be?
Okay. Well, having seen this, I hope you've all been recommended to see the 1980s Transformers animated movie. So I won't say that one. And you've all just seen Bragging Rights, so I won't say that one. Or any of my other films, because I've got a lot. Not some of them not so good. Some of them are really good. But my favourite film is another film from the 80s, and it's the sequel to Alien. It's Aliens. I think the James Cameron Aliens film is just fantastic. Sigourney Weaver, the colonial marines. It's just a brilliant film from start to end, and a little bit of horror, but it's mainly an action film, and it ticks every box for me. I just think it's fantastic. I mean, for me, directors, a lot of them were at their best in the 80s. Ridley Scott was fantastic in the 80s and 70s. Spielberg was amazing in the 80s. James Cameron, amazing in the 80s, going into the 90s. And some of them have like maintained a level, but some directors have kind of gone off the boil a little bit and aren't making that many good films. But if you watch pretty much any James Cameron film, except for Piranhas,
exactly. Piranhas too.
Yeah, from the 80s and 90s, then they're all amazing. And my favorite film of all time is Aliens. And if it's not Aliens, it's Predator.
Oh, Predator. You're talking about my childhood there. Oh,
Predator's got, in my opinion, the greatest line of all time. When Jesse Ventura gets shot in the arm, and the guy next to him says, "You're bleeding," and he just turns to him and says, "I ain't got time to bleed." It's like it's just perfect. It's so corny and over the top, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. And Jesse Ventura fits perfectly. So for some reason, he made the transition from wrestling to that, and he's just there. You don't even notice. Oh my God, such great stuff. And yeah, absolutely. That were, if I were to sum that up, that would be Aliens, and very honorable mention to Transformers 1986. Not enough people have watched that one ever.
It's probably in my top 10 films, to be honest with you.
Yeah. At one point in my life, just a few years ago, I was actually teaching history of animation, and I couldn't wait for that part of the themery of the subject to come out, because the 80s was just a massive moment. I mean, for example, Transformers the movie from 1986 makes a really nice combo with G.I. Joe, the movie from 1980, also from 1986. They produced both at the same time because it was the same production studio that was Sambo, and most of the stuff was the same, and the voice actors too. So yeah, it's all in that very same basket of awesomeness and an amazing 80s. I don't know what to call it. I mean, for me, it's awesome. For some people, it's cringe. For some people, it's nostalgic. For some people, it's campy. For me, it's awesome all the way. Yeah.
I'm with you. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So then interesting question. So to watch more of your stuff, where do you think people could go to see it, or what could they do to be able to get a glimpse of it?
Film festivals. That's where you got to go. Got to go to film festivals. My latest one, called The Witchhunters, is coming. That is doing really well, actually. Again, done on a micro budget, and it's also a silly comedy. And uses various cliches from the Blair Witch, Snow White, The Wizard of Oz, lots of witch references, but it's basically a reality TV show set then. If you want to see it, you can go to various film festivals. It's in a film festival today, in fact, in Italy. One of the stars, in fact, the same lead actor, Marcus Massey, is the lead actor in The Witchhunters Are Coming, and he has done some commercial work in Italy, so he's quite a known face there. So I'm pleased to say that the Italians have been very supportive of my films. So yay, Italy. And North America really likes my stuff. The UK, not actually as much, I have to say. I think they possibly think it's too daft. But yeah, no, that's not to say that I haven't had a lot of UK screenings of my stuff. But as a proportion, I would say USA, I think, has the same kind of sensibilities as I do, than perhaps the UK film festival circuit. But that's not to say that I haven't got in quite a few. So maybe I'm being unkind to the film festival circuit.
No, not at all. You're great. You've done your job. You've done the films, which is more than enough. Now it's on them to do what they must. But yeah, I saw the trailer for The Witchhunters Are Coming, and I loved it. That's what I was asking the question, actually, to see how could I get to actually see it. And I saw Marcus, and it was, yeah, I mean, it was hysterical the whole way through. Even if, as you're saying, basically, even if, let's say, humble in some ways, the writing and the acting is just hysterical. Him banging there going, "This is the Witchhunters, open up the door." Oh my god. It was actually delivered. Everything is delivered actually pretty well, and I love the narrator on that one. So
the narrator's fantastic. He's a guy called Russell Biles, and I've used him in my most recent project that I'm halfway through shooting, and I can't recommend him enough. He's absolutely brilliant. We've also got an extended version of the film, which has got a TV continuity announcer, and that's actually got Francesca, who's Miss Stupendous in Bragging Rights. So I've gone back to actors that I know are good, and so she's done like this continuity introduction, as if there was a TV channel that only dealt with crazy, like supernatural stuff. But if you really want to see The Witchhunters Are Coming, pop me an email, and I'll send you a top secret link, and I'll let you see it.
No worries at all. No worries.
And maybe Cine Booth will screen it in a session or two's time.
Why not? Why not? On our side, you'll always have a spot for screenings. So don't be shy about that one. So then, is there anything you'd like to? Is there any topic you'd like to cover that you have yourself, or any message you'd like to give to the audiences that are watching this?
I would say turn your brain off. It's very silly. Don't expect anything deep. It's daft. It's not high drama. It doesn't address any issues that are current today. It's not a lockdown film. It's not about knife crime in London. It's not about people coming out. It's none of that. It's just a really silly, excuse my French, it's a piss take of superhero films. So if you don't like superhero films, you might actually like this one because it ridicules them. And if you do like superhero films, you'll like this one because the superheroes are amazing in it. Win-win.
Amazingly worded, James. So I think we can wrap up for today. The good thing about this is that we always encourage, I encourage you, and I always encourage every filmmaker to send us much stuff, because that always means that we can have another one of these for every single film we have to show. So in that sense, I'm always looking forward to seeing you again, and hopefully when we go, everything calms down and we're able to do live venue events again. I'll be able to see you face to face, and I can give you a hug and talk about Transformers and comics and all of that in much 100%. Broader detail.
100%. That would be perfect. Yeah, to be honest with you, yeah, I'm missing meeting people. I've been in lockdown since March, and I want to meet other filmmakers, but at the same time, it's good to still get a presence online and to be seen. And generally speaking, if I'm at an event, I would never get this long to speak to the organisers and people. So I'm all for it. Good on you, Cine Booth, for getting content out there for people to see. So excellent. And hopefully I'll be with you guys again not too long.
That's excellent, man. Have a lovely day. Rest well. I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much. Take care.
No problem at all. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.